I talk about more, better, new a lot, but I want to dive into the one that is near and dear to my heart, the one that has made me the man that I am, which is more. And I want to talk about that because the fundamental question that every single business owner needs to answer, and even every person pursuing any skill or endeavor needs to answer, is why can't I do more? And for most people, doing more is the answer, and it's far more common that it is more. Now, what's very sneaky about more is that you get to a point and then you say, there's no way I can do more. And at that point is where the big unlocks in volume really occur, right? And so Napoleon had this really great quote back in the day, and maybe it's misattributed to him, but he said, quantity has a quality unto itself. Meaning, like, if you do so much volume, you do so much work, and in the military sense, if you just have so many people, at some point it takes on its own quality of the amount of work, the amount of people, the amount of volume that you're putting into something, whatever it is that you want to break through. So, big picture, I wanted to give you a couple cool little anecdotes to reinforce this. So, some of you guys know about Sharon. He was on the live with me. He's our president at ACQ. I want to tell you two stories about Sharon that really drove this home, and I can tell you so many of them in my life. But one of them about Sharon that really, like, I'll tell you the moment where, like, we went from being friends to me being like, man, I really want him to be, president of acquisition.com. So he was talking about how he was growing Reel. And so Reel is a $200 million, or was a $200 million per year business after a $200 million market cap. So they're publicly traded. And he was talking about the business. And he had grown it from 200 million to 1.2 billion in less than 3 years, so like 30 months. All right. And I want to put that there as a moment for you guys to think about that, how insane that is. 200 million to 1.2 billion, less than 3 years. How does he do it? We're having dinner, and he says, I just did 260 events in the last 365 days. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, I flew around and I did every single real estate event. I spoke on every single stage. And that's how I generated, more demand for our platform for realtors. And when he said that to me at dinner, I was like, this guy, he gets it. Now, we've been friends for years, but seeing him so tactically involved in the business and being like, that was the thing that took a $200 million business to $1.2 million, just sheer volume. Now, most people might hear that and think, well, yeah, I speak on stages one time a month, and I'm on stages all the time. It's like, no, you're not on stages all the time. You have no idea what being on stages all the time actually means. And so most business owners wildly underestimate the amount of volume, one, that is required, and two, that they are capable of. All right, and the thing that is required is almost always your capability is always higher than what is required. But the thing is that you might not know it yet. And so I've had so many times in my life that it's become my de facto operating principle. Like, I got stuck in trying to grow muscle for a really long time. And this is before I took testosterone, all right? So to be very clear, I've taken testosterone exogenously, injected inside of me, and gotten all the man juice. But this is before that. And I was able to put on like another 20 or 30 pounds like 7 years into lifting. And the main thing was I ended up saying, well, I wonder what would happen if I made it my job to lift all day. And I was like, well, what does that mean? So I lived at a gym, obviously, because I had my own gym. And I set a timer to work out every 45 minutes. So I had set up 3 exercises. And every 45 minutes, I'd go in the gym and I'd hit 1 set on all of them and I'd go back to work. And I was doing 9 or 10 sets every day, right? Which is a lot of sets. And I did it every day. And so what ended up happening is that in a matter of 4 weeks, I put like 15, 16 pounds on. And I was like, holy, and it broke me through all these plateaus of size and strength that I had been stuck at for years. And so then later I was like, let me see if I can do it for 6 weeks and do it even more volume. And that's what ended up happening. Now, to be clear, some people have different genetics, some people have, their joints can't take it, whatever. But the point is that the solution set we have to think about is like, how can I do more? And the answer to that question, the thing that's stopping you, is the constraint of the business. All right. And so many of you guys have heard the story of the pottery class where you have a teacher, he assigns 2 classes. You will get graded on making the best pot. So the quality of your pot is what I'm going to grade you on. And the other class, he said, I'm going to grade you on the number of pots that you make. And at the end of the semester, the quality team had made 1 pot and it was decent. And then the team that had just done sheer volume of pots, not only did they make way more pots, their pots were better. And so the thing is that, kind of like the Napoleon quote, quantity takes on a quality unto itself. Like, you get better by doing more. And so that is why there's this tied relationship between the two that's massively linked that people underestimate. And so I want to read you this. This is from my internal sales handbook that I have for my sales team, because I want to set, this is the culture of acquisition.com. We ask, how can we do more? Right? How can we do more? Now, leverage is a part of doing more, inputs and outputs. Like if we can get more output with leverage, let's do it, right? So let me read this to you because I think it'll frame how we think about this. Many people say they want to be in the top 1% or 0.1% or even 0.01%, but saying that has zero bearing on whether it happens. Achievement comes from actions, not aspirations. So let's get real. To be the top 1%, you need to enter a room of 100 people and leave number 1. To be the top 0.1%, you need to enter a room of 1,000 people, like a local high school, and leave number 1. To be the top 0.01%, you need to enter an arena of 10,000 people and leave number 1. Think about it, a stadium. And in a battle to the death in that stadium, you have to come out on top. You beat everyone, not almost everyone, everyone. And so if you have the goal to be in the top 0.01%, do you think that you can live a normal life? Do you think that you can keep the same friends? Do you think that you can keep the same hobbies? Do you think you can stay up late and sleep in on weekends? Do you think that you don't have to sacrifice what average people care about? Do you think that they will support you when you start to pass them? Do you think anyone will think this is healthy, balanced, or logical? No. And they're right, but it doesn't matter. When you want to be the 0.01%, there's no greater waste of time than explaining yourself to people who actively don't support you. It's normal for people to not understand why you do what you do. I say this because you cannot make yourself exceptional and live a normal life. To make yourself exceptional, you must live an exceptional life. And an exceptional life does not always mean better. It just means that it's so different that most people will reject it, and you. And when that happens, you must reject them as well. Oil and water do not mix. That is what it really means to be exceptional. You must become the exception.